I also just realized Ridley has abs.
He's got like a. Okay, this.
I've got like a bazillion abs.
It's like he's got like a 9-pack, which is just like, wait, what?
You don't know what his race needs. There we go.
He's got abs but no pecs.
Also, he's red.
And
He's not red.
I mean, he's reddish.
He's purple.
I've always pictured him as a reddish color.
I thought he was gray.
Just look at him in the boss fight. He's clearly purple.
I actually see more of
Which boss fight, though?
The first one. Because the second one's in lava, and they actually did some pretty impressive tech where his color changes the closer he gets to the lava.
I thought the color changes closer he got to death.
It does.
Yeah, it does that too.
And maybe I just picture him red because he gets closer to red as he's closer to death, and I just, body him every time.
Yeah. We know you.
Watch Together link again.
In the Jordan, what is this channel?
Every time I forget I named it that, and then I giggle to myself. All right.
Have you guys ever seen the Japanese box art of Super Metroid?
Save it for the stream because I have a feeling it'll come up.
It's actually not that different, but Ridley is purple in it.
Madness.
Okay, got that. Got that. Things are looking good. All right. Let's get the recording started. Here we go. There are very few games that are held in as higher regard in the gaming industry and fandom as Super Metroid. It is a game that is somehow simultaneously retro, future, like it was the future, and it's timeless all at the same time. And we're going to talk about today. It's episode 85. We're doing a deep dive on Super Metroid. a game that I actually did not play physically until I was in college, despite growing up at the time because I didn't have a Super Nintendo.
You Philistine.
Yeah, it's we've mentioned it a couple times. My friend had a Super Nintendo, so I got the Sega Genesis so we could play both. He got the better of that deal.
I remember the first time I put Super Metroid into my SNES, started the game, and I heard the last Metroid is in captivity. The galaxy is at peace. And I freaked out because my Super Nintendo was talking to me. My Super Nintendo had the capability of reproducing voice, which was just unheard of. I mean, like the closest we'd gotten, prior to that was stuff like, Altered Beast, Welcome to Your Doom. And it just didn't sound right back then. But this it sounded normal. Like it actually sounded like speech. I mean, yes, it's obviously, digital, but I just remember thinking this was the peak of gaming technology.
Super Metroid might be the most iconic title screen in gaming.
Well, the other thing, though, that was fascinating to me is as I realized this thing that blew my mind was the absolute least interesting thing about the game.
Yeah. And this is part of what I mean when I talk about this game was the future. So much of what would define gaming going forward was kind of codified in this game.
Well, it's like the older Metroids, they were definitely sort of Metroidvania-esque, but this kind of codified what a Metroidvania could be.
Yeah. Well, just this right here.
It took everything from the first game and polished it.
Well, it took everything from the first two games and polished them.
Fair
because there were a lot of things that people believe originated in Super Metroid that actually originated in the Game Boy game.
Such as? Let's talk about them.
Well, starters, Samus's suit changing shape.
Yes.
In the original game, the NES Metroid, it only changed color. But the Game Boy didn't have the capability to do that. So in order to differentiate between the suits, Samus's suit changed shape when she got a suit upgrade, which was the origin of the giant spheroid pauldrons that everybody loves. And several of the upgrades that Samus gets, including, I believe, the spring ball and
Spider ball.
Spider ball is the spider ball in the?
I don't think the spider ball is in Super Metroid.
No, it's not. But you're just saying ones that originated in 2.
Right,
but it's in Metroid 2.
Yes,
it's in Metroid 2.
Well, and that has become a very, like, even if it didn't show up in Super. Wait, no. Did the spider ball not show up in Super Metroid?
I don't believe the spider ball was in Super Metroid.
No, I'm thinking of Fusion.
But yeah, I mean, it's got the enviable task because it is the weird Nintendo game where the continuity went from NES to the Game Boy to the Super Nintendo, which was I can't think of another one that did that. I'm sure there are, but I can't think of them.
Yeah, because Zelda was Nintendo to the Super Nintendo to the Game Boy.
Yeah, well, continuity in Zelda is a oft-debated topic.
It is continuity. Because
if
I'm remembering right, the link in Link's Awakening is the link from A Link to the Past.
Yeah, but Link's Awakening came after Link to the Past, if I recall correctly.
That's what I was just saying. That's my point.
Yeah, and so it's just a bizarre thing. But let's just talk about where we are right here in the video, where you get to the space colony, and you see you're like, oh crap, this is the room from the title screen, and you remember there was a Metroid in that case. So you're like,
it's just like, well, you also remember that the bodies that are on the floor were living people.
And then there it is.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of actual death displayed in Nintendo games
No.
prior to Super Metroid.
And then
So
this.
seeing bodies, dead bodies on the floor was an experience. And then here comes Ridley, who is purple.
But the thing that was really cool about it is it throws you in the middle. Like it is, yes, in medias res, where you're just suddenly on a space station. You're like, I don't know what's going on. But there's no enemies. And there is an eeriness to that. Because you're like, okay, I can shoot. I keep going through these doors, and there's nothing there.
Which continues on into Planet Zebes or Zebes.
Exactly. And that's the trope, though. Nothing is scarier. And it's just like you're waiting for that thing to jump at you from around the corner. So when you finally get into the room with the baby Metroid on the ground, you're like, oh, there it is. And then that eye lights up. And it's just like, okay, something bad is happening.
Well, and then here, the screen starts tilting as you're trying to escape.
Unheard of.
They just did such a good job at the opening segment. They get you right in there, like you will understand the atmosphere and the tone right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
It is so well done.
Another interesting thing is this was before they bothered trying to explain why Samus didn't have all her power-ups, because back then, the next game, it was just assumed you were going to start at the baseline.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have to worry about the bag of spilling trope.
Yeah, that didn't really start until Prime, did it?
Yeah.
Fusion or Prime, whichever came first.
Well, Fusion, but...
Fusion's
well, wait, no, they
excuse was more legitimate.
Yeah. Well, because it was literally the main plot of the game.
Right.
Fusion and Echoes do the best job of it making sense, in my opinion.
Yeah, but Echoes, because of that whole concept, I had to fight the boost boss.
Yes.
And I'm still bitter about that.
Yes, you should. You should be that. No, but anyway, the whole point of, like, it's one of the, again, we're talking about, this game was so far ahead of its time, and its intro is so good. Like, this blew me away when I played it the first time. The fact that we started going through where we ended Metroid.
Oh, it was amazing.
You're just like,
if you played the original game, you remembered.
Well, and even if you hadn't, because they put it in the intro of the, like, if you let Samus talk or whatever, you see her battle with Mother Brain. And so even if you hadn't, you would see that. But playing it, it felt more epic. And then
See, I didn't catch that because I never beat the original Metroid, so I had no idea that was where the game ended until my brother pointed it out to me at a later date. Because my first experience with Super Metroid, actually, I never got to play the game. We had rented a Super Nintendo because you could do that back in the day. And he had picked up Super Metroid. He had also picked up a Game Genie, which he, had fun with. But I never got to play it because I was too young at the time. Or at the very least, they didn't want me to have any time on it because that would take away from theirs. But I didn't want to play it because I don't care for these kinds of tense experiences. Now, I have played it since, but when I first ran into Super Metroid, it was too tense for me because I had recently been traumatized by my family letting me watch the movie Alien at the age of 5 years old.
Yes, good. Proper family.
Well, so I wanted nothing to do with this game when I was a child.
Oh,
especially
we have a
because this
loony.
game was clearly
it
inspired by
is.
Alien.
Yes, this game is definitely based off of Alien.
I was getting to that. But yes. However, Samus is much more capable combat fighter than Ridley was.
Ripley.
Ripley, yeah.
Ripley,
Ripley.
right?
Ridley is the one.
Ridley is look. We're talking
Ridley-
about Super Metroid. It's on the brain.
True. It's true as well. Samus tends to win the fight with Ridley as well. But yeah, I actually did recognize this as the ending area thanks to a good man named Justin Bailey,
Mhm.
as that was the only way I was going to beat the first Metroid.
Even with Justin Bailey, I never beat it as a kid because it was too labyrinthian for me to figure out where I needed to go.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially when they reused rooms.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
the first Metroid
And then
is a
and then
technical achievement
advancement-
in and of itself, but yeah.
And then advancement was hidden behind some random bomb block that you didn't know was there in the corner of a room that you passed through dozens of times.
Yeah. They learned their lessons. They did a good job of doing that. But no,
It's
the other thing that just
funny.
looking at this early part is just you can hear the sound effects even though it's muted.
But yeah, all I know is I do think that thanks to Justin Bailey, I did recognize the ending, and it was kind of like, whoa, this is trippy. This is totally a throwback to the original game.
Wait, can you
And-
think of another game that did something like this at that time? Because I can't.
There's one that I didn't realize it because I hadn't played the first. But Baggins should remember this one. The only other one I can think of is Lufia and Lufia 2. Which for me is
Yeah.
a very sad story because
And then this happens.
not only did I not recognize the whole, it wasn't from that, but I, was renting, didn't finish, was rushing through, was too weak to defeat the final boss, and then played the whole game over so I could finally see the ending of Lufia 2. Only to realize all I had to do was play the first 5
Beginning of
minutes of
Lufia
Lufia 1. But yeah, no. As Breakfast was saying, this fight was always freaky too, where it's just like, whoa, it'll attack.
The Choso statues are supposed to help you. They're not supposed to come alive and start to kill you.
And well, that's the thing is, as soon as that happens, you
don't-
never feel safe again.
No,
Yeah,
because
you have trust issues.
you pick up the power up and then the room just locks, and for several seconds nothing happens, and you're just okay, what's going on?
No, it reminds me of in the movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, Gene Wilder actually refused to play the part unless he was allowed to do that scene at the beginning where he comes out with the cane and then starts to fall over and roll and turns it into a roll, like a somersault. And like the director actually was like, "So you won't do the movie if I don't let you do this?" He said, "Absolutely." He said, "Why?" He said, and Wilder said, "Because from that moment on, they'll never know if they can trust me." And that's what this moment did, is just like, as soon as that happens, nothing is safe anymore, because you have had your trust broken intentionally.
It also does something else. It prepares you for the fact that there might be situations like that to let you know something cinematic is about to happen. Because the same thing happens when you quote unquote, beat Mother Brain.
Where it's just, there's this pause in this moment. That's one thing this game did, is it would allow you to sit. And a lot of games don't dare do that, just because they're going to get bored, they're going to walk away, and this is just like, just let them stew in it for a moment.
It has atmosphere coming out its every orifice in its body.
I'm curious, when you guys played Super Metroid, had you played Metroid 2 at all?
I had not. I'd skipped it.
In fact, I never got out of the first area in Metroid 1. I played Metroid 1 quite a bit, but I never was able to get out of
Brinstar?
Brinstar.
I was
funny,
able to get
never
out of
actually-
Brinstar.
But
You
the
know, it's
thing
funny.
is,
I never thought of myself as a big Metroid person, but now I think about it, thanks to playing the Justin Bailey code, I did beat the first one, and I had played the second one quite a lot because that was one of my Game Boy games that we had.
Oh.
Yeah,
I never
I
had
didn't
a
know
Game Boy,
anyone who
so-
even had Metroid 2 for the Game Boy.
Which is funny because I didn't own Super Metroid growing up. I'd always borrowed it from a friend, but I owned Metroid 2.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
definitely a little
I
non-traditional in that.
but that's the
Yeah.
thing. That's the thing that's really cool, and it speaks to the quality of the intro of this game. I never played Metroid 2, but I never felt like I was missing anything. And having gone back and played Metroid 2 now, I'm like, honestly, all of the important information they gave me in the intro of Super Metroid. Now, I mean, it's still a great game. I'm not bagging on it, but I'm saying the introduction is short, simple, gets you right into the action, but it gives you all the information you need to understand and appreciate the game.
And you know what was interesting that I always found interesting about the intro to Super Metroid? I hated this boss.
Speedrunners really hate this boss.
That's because it's time gated.
It's not
Samus.
hard, but yeah, it's definitely time gated.
The thing about the intro is Samus is talking at you.
Mhm.
You are hearing the story from her perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas most games, because speech wasn't really a thing, even the RPGs, a good chunk of them had silent protagonists. The main character didn't really address what was going on. Characters around them would address it,
Mm-hmm.
but
And
the
through the-
characters themselves, because they were supposed to be you, wouldn't really do any addressing.
And through the rest of the game, she is a silent protagonist.
Yeah, and through most of her games, she is a silent protagonist. But for that intro, for that moment, she is recapping. She is telling a
Mhm.
story of what happened to her. And I always found that interesting. It's such a little thing, but it establishes something that Samus is her own character. You are not, to me at least, it meant you are not to imprint yourself on Samus. She is her own character.
Mm-hmm.
You
Well,
are just you are playing her story.
It's the opposite of Link. Like, I mean, his name is Link because he was literally the link between the game and the player.
Right. And to this day, though Link has implied speech through games like Skyward Sword, where it's implied that he responds, and you are given some text boxes to choose from, and in the Breath game, the Breath of the Wild games, obviously Link explains things to characters at certain points.
And the masterpiece of the 80s cartoon.
Well, we were not including that because that wasn't an official Nintendo, but
I'm including that. Mario sounds like Captain Lou Albano, and I won't hear any disagreement.
well, okay, it's the Super Mario Brothers Super Show. Okay, I understand they both ran together, but I consider them entirely separate beings as far as any connections to the game goes.
Mario is
Mario
Link.
has a Brooklyn accent.
Oh, we're going a different direction with that.
Anyway, back to Super Met. My only point was, to me, it cemented Samus as a character, and
Yes.
that made all the difference. Not all the difference, but that did make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
It's and the thing that you're talking about, it establishes her character. It establishes that she is a woman who's very thoughtful, but not someone who hesitates, but she's thinking. And
Yes.
on the other thing that really helps is it makes it so that, like, for example, I love the ending of Metroid Prime Echoes, where she saves the day, helps the Luminoth, and as she walks away, she just kind of gives them this
The wave.
yeah, just a very chill wave. Like, she doesn't stay to talk because that's not who she is. It makes it so that in Dread, when we hear her speak her one line
Mm-hmm.
that she says to Quiet Robe, it has weight, and it's setting the expectation. Which, setting expectations, this game was so revolutionary in one, iconic moments. Like, I want to talk about, we already saw Ridley. So when we finally see Samus,
talking about Crocodile.
when we see Samus in this trailer, sorry, I got to go back just a little bit. In the Melee trailer, what's the scene? It's her fighting Ridley with Ridley having the Metroid. Because
it's her fighting Ridley on Sarah's station. Now there's a bit of an anachronism there because you don't have missiles in that fight, but
yeah. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but we have but the boss fights are also iconic. We already talked about this one with the Chozo statue.
The Toriso.
Yeah. There's another one I want to talk about in terms of this thing is an iconic fight, and I'm just looking for the timestamp here. Yes, there it is.
I know where we're going.
Well, we have to.
We're talking Crocomere, right?
Well, no, actually, like that is part of it, but here we go. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. I found Crocomire first. Is it Crocomere? I always said Crocomire.
I always pronounce it Crocomire.
It is Crocomire.
But this boss fight is the first one that I can remember where it's not about hit points.
Yeah.
It's about pushing them back. Well, and then his look, this is a very bizarre looking boss.
Oh, the enemy design in these games is incredible, in this one in particular.
But just the fact you're
you're
slowly pushing
the weirdness of Fantoon as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who punishes you if you use your most powerful weapon against him?
He punishes you if you use the super bomb?
If you use because you don't have you're not supposed to have super bombs when you fight Fantoon.
Oh, okay.
But you do have super missiles, and if you hit Fantoon with a super missile, he goes berserk. So speedrunners will avoid using super missiles on Fantoon and just spam normal missiles because it actually takes longer.
This is horrifying.
Really? Yes. I didn't know that.
Yes,
this is definitely horrifying.
This moment in the game,
scene,
first off, the flesh melts off, and then you're like, okay, I'm going. And it's just a completely unnecessary but amazing freak out.
This scene is seared into my brain as much as his flesh was seared off his bones.
I see what you did there. That was good. No, but I also just
except this player just skipped the second phase of that.
Yeah. And it's like, what's going on? Because again, if they trained you, sometimes this will happen after a boss, or in boss rooms.
Trust anything, and then suddenly it's just like, we have to fight him again, and then it collapses.
No, the Crocomire boss fight is really big.
And you can just imagine the developers, just sitting here, just like, hey, check out what I did, This will freak them out.
Let's see. I guess I have a different video than the one I pulled up here.
It's like you're talking about her being her own character, and and I do like how she's a very pensive character. That's one thing I like about her, and I don't like a lot of way like fans want to portray her because I'm like, that's not her. But I didn't realize it until you said it, but how important it is when a character is actually established as a character. Because you're right, Link is silent, Mario is silent, Dragon Quest protagonists are silent.
Freeman is silent.
Chrono is silent.
Chrono is silent, and
even the Warriors of Light in the first Final Fantasy, they're silent. Okay, that was that moment that we just passed.
That's more due to limitations of the.
But Cecil in Final Fantasy II, that was like the first time that I could think of where there was a talkative, main character, and the fact that he had his own personality.
This moment.
Now, part of that is because we didn't get FF2 or 3.
Kraid coming out of the ground like this.
Yes.
This was so
for a lot for a lot of people, though, I think that was spoiled because I believe that was in the ad, if I'm remembering.
It was, but
yes, it
just
was.
I don't know. For me, it didn't feel like sprites this big should be able to exist.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he stands up, it just sells the size of him.
It's the first time you have a boss.
Played the first game, he's tiny.
Yeah, where he looks like
the first time you have
Toka.
a boss fight that takes up more than a single screen.
Because in the first game, he's as tall as Samus is, and so this one is he's huge.
In the first game, he looks like, well, that's the thing. The enemy that you fight before him, like there's a little mini Kraid. That's the size that Kraid was in the first game.
Yes.
Like this thing right here.
And of course that dead guy right in front of Kraid's room.
With the bugs on him?
Yeah. Which I always do you remember Nintendo Power had the comic?
Oh,
Metroid
yes.
Comic?
Dude, the comic was so good.
It was good, but there was a dude in the comic. There was a guy that was like interacting with Samus, and I always in my head imagined it was that guy that he died. And when you play the game, the guy from the comic had died right in front of Kraid's room. I don't know if I'm the only one who thought that, but I did.
Can't say I went that direction, but it is interesting because, especially when you consider the storyline, in as much as Samus has already cleared this place out once before and it's self-destructed. And as far as she's aware, as far as we're all aware, no one but the space pirates have ever been there since. So what is that body? There's clearly enough organic matter attached to the corpse because, when you come out of Kraid's boss fight, there's all those little things feeding off of it.
Mm-hmm.
So who is that guy?
Can't be dead for too long. Well, like I said, he's the guy from the comic.
I suppose it makes as good a sense as anything.
This also had, and I'm trying to find it, the fight against what's the underwater one called? I'm blanking on the name of
Dragon, that's it.
Yes. That's one of the first times that I've ever seen a boss fight where the
options you have.
Yeah,
I didn't know. I did not know at all until I saw like a speedrunner do it.
But yeah, this is revolutionary. There we go. Okay, finally found the boss fight.
I feel like it's the first time that a non-attack ability could be used for attack that I'm aware of. At least in Metroid. Trying to think of other games. But it's just a clever use. I don't know if he's going to do it or not. Well,
looks like they're trying.
Yep, they're going to.
It's like, come on, get closer.
There it is.
Like clever use of the grapple beam and rewarding the player for trying something.
I never have thought it, but I like how he's still like it shows Samus is taking damage as well. So it's like it's that self-sacrifice move, but it's really cool, and it's kind of the whole like, oh, Samus is getting electrocuted too, but she can take it, and he can't.
Yep.
He wasn't grounded. Although I do believe Dragon is a she, actually, so.
Oh, yeah? Oh.
Well, okay. Those are her children that drag her body away.
No, well, and then...
She's a seahorse, so,
Fair enough. We're not going to get into the biology of seahorses here.
Seahorse. But then we get...
how seahorses do.
Yeah. But then the Ridley boss fight. Again, like every single one of these boss fights, except for the plant and Phantoon isn't really iconic to me. It's just, like he has a unique design, but
he's just freaky. But no one likes Phantoon.
Nobody likes him, but I'd still call him iconic.
He has at least iconic design.
Well, he's.
But like you're basically the four bosses that lead you down into I can't remember what it's Turian.
I think so.
Yeah, Torian.
Yeah, Torian.
But
But
this boss fight
It's
is
Kraid, Fantoon, Ridley, and Dragon
Dragon,
are the
yes.
4 that unlock the.
Well, that and like when I see speedrunners fight this boss, where they like, oh, if you turn off these beams and this, and then you can have this special ability. I'm like, they put in so many secret like movement and attack things in this game.
To be fair, what you are referencing, Looney, is a glitch.
It's
And
a
that-
glitch.
Yeah,
that's
The
the
one
thing
where
with-
it kind of like goes around her oscillating. That's
Yeah.
a glitch.
Yeah, because there are 2 beams in the game that were never intended to be used together, but you can force them into a state to be used together, and it kind of breaks the game, and it can soft lock you if you do it wrong. But it essentially creates a point blank charge state in front of your gun that essentially does infinite damage. So the moment you get him to touch it, he dies.
But still, like the fact that it kind of. Are you sure that's?
Yeah, it's not
I'm sure
intended.
that's what I'm thinking of. Where it kind of looks like makes like a Varia suit symbol path around her. I
Well,
don't know.
is that a charge bomb ability?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
the one I'm thinking of is a charge bomb ability, so I don't think it's I don't think I was talking about the glitch.
Okay,
But like
then,
the
yeah,
different
maybe
charge
I'm-
bomb abilities. Not to mention the crystal flash, which the only indication that it can be done is a combination of reading the comic and watching the intro of the game, like if you just let the game play. Which is something I miss that games don't do anymore, is just having there's stuff to learn if you just turn on the game and don't touch the controller.
Well, and a lot of that had to do with, it was sort of an artifact of arcades.
Arcade track mode. Yeah.
Well, arcades, and then also, in-store demos.
Of course, my personal favorite part of this game is towards the end of it,
Yeah, which I've moved towards.
which I'm
trying,
sure we'll get to.
but no, in terms of iconic, this is one of the most iconic final sequences
Oh, man.
in gaming history.
And again, the music kicks in, the tension, and then you enter this room. Now,
Though
pause
I
here.
do
Pa-
hate that
pause
they
there
put
real quick, because I want to talk about that.
I hate that they put a save point though past the point of no return. That was bad design on their part. It's like the only bad design in the entire game.
But you enter this room, yes, and then it's just standing there. And now, the first time you fight the Toriso, it's a relatively easy boss fight. But the second time you fight the Golden Toriso, that thing will kick your butt if you don't know how to handle
It is
it.
tough. It's a tough fight.
And so you enter this room, and there's a Toriso, but he's in his pain state, and he's not moving, and he's just frozen there.
Which, if you had played Metroid 2 and remember the ending of that game, you're like, oh crap. Oh crap. Double oh crap, I know what this means.
And nothing
'Cause it
happens
pulls-
until you either shoot or move past him. And then it crumbles into dust.
Because in Metroid 2, it kind of had the same thing at the end of the game. Granted, the remakes got rid of that, unfortunately, where at the very end of the game, you're like, oh, Metroids have killed everything here. That's why it's so empty.
Mm-hmm.
And
Then
here,
this.
but yeah, the extra touch of having it crumble to dust in front of you, which they could not do on the Game Boy. But, yeah, very cool.
And then it emaciates that poor Hopper.
Yep. And then tries to emaciate you before realizing at 1 HP.
The baby.
The baby.
And starts to chirp. And steadily gets higher until you recognize it.
It starts floating around the way it did in the intro to the game.
The way it did at the end of Metroid 2 when it helped you escape.
Yes, absolutely. But again, it was set up so that you didn't have to have played Metroid 2, which I think is brilliant.
Even though it very much was a sequel to Metroid 2.
1000%.
But it told you all that info in the intro.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is just a master class. And again, there's no text, there's no voice.
Yeah.
It is
Atmospheric
all
storytelling.
environmental
Outside of that intro.
storytelling. But I mean, right here, there's no text, no voice.
Right.
Mhm.
It's just trusting you to pick up on the clues that they're laying out.
And that's
Oh,
something
my
I
goodness.
miss in games where they make something hard and trust you to do it.
And they knew that
Don't
you
use
would,
that save point. Don't use it. It's bad.
and they knew that you would pick up on that, especially the chirp, because every time you start the game, you hear the chirp
Uh-huh.
in the title screen. Because there's the
Yep.
Metroid, in his
Yep.
case,
That's true.
chirping.
Yep. And so
So
they
it's
set it up so that you can't miss it, but they don't be like, hey,
And
remember
every
this
time-
sound? You know, it's not Samus. She had a
Yeah.
very distinctive chirp. So, you know.
Yeah, and every time you turn on the cartridge, you hear it again. You have that reminder every time you take a
Mhm.
break from the game. Man, that's really cool. I never thought of it that way, but that they totally did.
No, the storytelling in this game is incredible.
So, have you seen any of those new YouTube videos of what if this game was made today and
Yes.
there's talking over everything? Makes
I
you
haven't,
wonder if
but
the game's
this-
gonna-
Samus, you just defeated Mother Brain.
Yes, like 100%. You're just like, what is going on? Like, and then this happens. It's like, what the crap?
I remember freaking
Well,
out at this.
And if you played the first game, you're like, "Oh, I know this boss. This is a repeat of the first boss. I know what to do. I know what to do." Yeah, I did it though. That seemed a little anticlimactic because I remember it being harder. And then this happened.
Opens up that freaking eye.
And then that shrieking sound and the design of this boss and the sound effects and just everything about it is horrifying.
I know,
And
it's
it's-
like they hired Dane Cook himself to do the sound effects of it.
Then even after you pour your entire arsenal into it and you think you might be getting close to killing her, no, you're not. I mean, you are, but you're not. Because this happens.
And she pins you to the wall. Again, this is physics that didn't happen anywhere else in the game.
Well, and then that animation of her trying to stand up.
Right.
Mhm.
And players are just spamming their controller
Yeah.
trying to jam out of it.
And then the Metroid shows up and says, taste the rainbow.
All I know is at that moment you're like, I'm gonna die. I can't do anything. It won't let me do anything. And then this happens. You're like, oh, divine retribution. Feels so good.
No, this is, again, I keep using the word iconic. Cause like the whole thesis of this game is somehow retro, the future, and timeless all at the same time.
Mhm.
And then
And-
it starts healing you.
It starts,
But
then
Mother
you see
Brain
that
isn't
smoke.
dead yet.
By the way, spoilers if you haven't played the game. But-
And then
And
you,
she just goes to town on the baby.
well, you
The
also
baby.
realize how powerful she is because you know how hard it is to damage a normal Metroid.
And
And then
then
It's
you taste the
emotional
rainbow.
here.
vengeance.
but again, think of the design here. The way they get
The
her
knockback.
head rocking back just sells
Yeah.
the idea that you have this Omni cannon.
Oh yeah.
And she's screaming in pain.
Yeah. But yeah, just
Well,
the animation
and-
of her head rocking back is just the best.
And particularly the very first time you play this fight, you are absolutely pissed at her for taking out the baby. You're like, you do
The
not
baby.
touch this child.
And you know what? I don't know of any game that has completely encapsulated the wrath of a mother so well before
Uh-huh.
or since, honestly.
Or
I'm sure
had
some
the
have tried.
but this is the
Like
other
maybe
big
heavy rain or something. I don't know.
this is the other big thing, just the Metroid series in general. then had the maturity to not bring Mother Brain back. Now Ridley
That
keeps
was
coming
reserved
back
for
in
Ridley.
weird forms.
Ridley can come back in every comic book, what the heck is going on he wants.
Oh, and he can even come back in a game that he wasn't there before.
Don't worry about that.
Even though it makes no sense because he'd have to be in like 2 places at once. For
Don't worry. Just we have to let Samus Returns. Just leave it alone.
I'm sorry, I have so many problems with Samus.
It's not what this is about.
Gosh.
Let it go. But no,
look, if you want to get into other games, let's talk about Other M.
No, let's leave that alone as well.
Let's not talk about Other M.
So here's the other thing I want to talk about. This is the first game I ever played that had optional endings. I mean, it's a very minor thing.
Yeah, saving the animals is what he's talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, he's talking about saving the animals. I'm just trying to think. I don't know if this is this the? I don't. It's probably not the first for me.
And streamers have made so much money because of this, because they'll have people vote with their dollars on whether they should save or kill the animals.
What does this guy do?
He saves.
Saving, right?
It's 100% completion rate.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have, Mr. Game Theory saying that that's what got the X parasite off the planet. And if you save the animals, it's all your fault that fusion happened.
I actually kind of like it as a theory. Just because I just think it has a lot of, it's a good narrative feel to it, personally. But just, it's just, this ending is so, again, in Melee, when you beat Samus in the story mode, you see Zebus blow up.
First time that she actually takes out a full planet.
And great use of Mode 7.
Impressive.
Yep, Mode 7.
Iconic explosion.
And then the pixel goes.
And then boom. So freaking good.
Mission complete. Wait, no.
Wrong game.
Wrong space bounty hunter.
Nah, Star Fox isn't a bounty hunter. He's a mercenary. There's a difference.
Fair
Although
enough.
allegedly, Samus was also intended to be a mercenary and not a bounty hunter.
Uh-huh.
Who knows?
Sakamoto, man.
Well, Samus was originally intended to be an android, and that didn't last.
And I'm very grateful for that.
I think many a teenage boy was grateful for that.
Yep. Is that not? Did I skip over that? There we are.
Wait, Samus is a girl?
Wait, they skipped it, not me. Oh no, okay. There we I forgot. That's
No,
how that letting her hair down. Just
Kim Basinger. This model was based off of Kim Basinger, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're correct.
That sounds familiar.
But no, it's just this whole game is so iconic. And it was there's certain games that can't come out that put the entire industry on notice, where just everyone looks at it and says everything is different now in some way, shape, or form, and this is one of them. But the thing,
Nintendo has a bad habit of doing that to the industry.
Yeah,
because the other one similar. Well, I think that was probably even more impactful was Mario 64 was one of those situations.
Yep, 100%.
People before were making Bubsy 3D and Gex, and then Mario comes out and they're like, "Oh crap!"
This is how we do
We
it, huh?
we did it way wrong.
This is how we do it.
But the other interesting thing is the fact that this game is transformative for a lot of different reasons. Not just the gameplay, not just the boss fights with different win conditions for each boss fight with different styles. It's also iconic because it, in many ways, revolutionized speedrunning. We're using video from Oats and Goats here.
Basically birthed it. No, I want to say it birthed speedrunning.
It does not birth
Well,
speedrunning.
I
That
think
belongs to
Doom's
Doom.
birthed speedrunning.
But this is what popularized it.
Well, I'm just thinking, I knew someone that would speedrun this game before anyone even knew the phrase speedrunning.
Yes.
Like he didn't use the word speedrunning. He said, "Oh man, when I was in college, I would just play Super Metroid like every day. I got to the point where I could like beat it in half an hour."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
And,
Doom,
man, I
Doom
got
was
so good
Doom
at it.
had
But
speedrunner.
He never used the word speedrun ever because it was
but-
not a phrase at the time.
No.
But the thing is, it also incentivized it
Yes.
because
One-
you got a different ending based on how quickly you beat the game.
And they
Not-
put the
not
timer
ending, but,
in.
you know, just like it's, yes, and they put the timer in and which kind of let you know, oh, this is important.
Yeah, well, and that's why
But-
Doom is the actual first one, because Doom actually also is the first thing to let you save your speed runs, because you could play a file that people saved to show you what they've done.
Yeah,
But-
I just want to point out that Oates is talking here. I don't know if that's following through on the stream.
It's not supposed to.
No.
Yeah,
No.
you can
It's
mute it
muted.
you can mute it yourself.
Okay.
The other thing is that the game had because it was so
Oh, this is
incentivized for
oats and
speedrun,
goats. Okay.
Mhm.
because it was so incentivized for speedrunning, people explored it for every opportunity to shave off a millisecond. And so by doing that, they started to discover glitches in it. And they started to exploit those glitches in order to get a faster time. And that's where, and it ended up sequence breaking. And it led to so many different things, to the point where, you know, if a later version of the game removes the glitches, people are upset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and on top of, like, even in I think it was Fusion was the first one that at least acknowledged sequence breaking, and then Dread, they took that to the next level, where Kraid has different animations for you getting to him with different abilities.
Yeah, 'cause,
Fusion
Fusion, like
Fusion only acknowledged sequence breaking in as much as it said, "Hey, you're not supposed to be here yet. Go back."
But that's
like-
something.
Adam would like
But
yell
like
at
for-
you for doing it.
For example, as you watch, he's raising and lowering her gun as he runs.
The arm
because
pumping.
that actually increased the speed.
Right.
Just ever so slightly, because every time Samus aims up or down, she moves 1 pixel forward.
And over
So
the
it
course of an
increases the
entire
speed
speed
to do
run,
it.
Mhm.
those pixels
It
start
adds
adding
to
up.
a few seconds.
So speaking of speed runs, though, there's another angle that I love. So I've mentioned it on here before, but SMZ3. Are y'all familiar with what SMZ3 is?
I am, but explain anyway.
Okay, so one thing that somebody like randomizers became a thing where there were people who had essentially solved a game that they loved and they were speed running, but then somebody said, let's throw another wrench into the mix, and they set up a program that would take every chest and shuffle them so that when you opened a chest, you didn't know what you were going to find. You might find, you know, one of the, you know, like the hook shot, or you might find a heart, and they're all over the place. And so it developed a whole other type of speed running where people would go and check areas that were easily accessible that had a bunch of chests, stuff like that. But they discovered that, like, somebody discovered a way to merge Super Metroid and The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past so that you could go through a door in one and end up in the other game. And you might open a chest in Zelda and find the charge beam, or you might pick up an item in Super Metroid and find, a a bomb bag or something that would increase ammo capacity, and they would play across each other. And so in order to beat it, you actually have to beat both games and gather and each they also discovered that there are certain items that are absolutely necessary to complete certain games. For example, in A Link to the Past, you have to have the Moon Pearl to be able to fight Ganon in the Dark World. You have to have, various things, and certain chests and items and stuff are potentially gated behind these items. And so as you find one item, it unlocks areas that you can explore. And so people are going back and forth between the two games. This run in particular is between it's Oats and Goats playing Super Metroid, but when they get to Zelda, they switch over to Andy, who is one of the top Zelda speedrunners and randomizer runners, and so this is just sort of a joining of two highly skilled players and switching off for their strengths.
So people have actually taken this concept to an extreme, and my
they
son's
take it to psychotic extremes.
my son's gotten into it because now you can decide what games you want to mix together. Like my son, he just did a run where he was playing Thousand Year Door, Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, while his friend was playing Minecraft.
Wow. And that's the other thing.
And actually, the Zelda Super Metroid 3 crossover is one of the games that you could mix with another game. So you can, so that could be mixed. This mixed with another game entirely.
Now, when you say he was playing with a friend, were they just switching off, or were they playing concurrently? Because that's another
concurrently, and it's Deathlink, like one he did before. He went through Earthbound. I think it was Earthbound he was playing, and his friend was playing through. He was playing Link to the Past, and his friend was playing Super Mario World. And the things that he would unlock for Super Mario World were things like, oh, now you're able to collect fire flowers, because initially you weren't able to. Mm-hmm. And but it had Deathlink, so whenever his friend died in Super Mario World, it would kill him in Link to the Past.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
And he said it was really brutal because his friend died all the time.
Mm-hmm. But to me, I feel like my favorite aspect of it is SMZ3, just because I feel like it's a marriage of two genre-defining games on the SNES. Like, honestly, I think they're my two favorite SNES games, and crossing them very elegantly.
Well, it's such a bizarre concept.
Your two favorite? I wouldn't have expected that.
They're my two favorite.
No, the concept of a randomizer.
I would not have guessed Super Metroid was one of your favorites.
I put it on my list.
I know you loved Super Metroid. I just didn't think you'd call it your favorite.
I put it on my list of 16.
Okay.
I think I put it on my list of 16. I can't. I remember I wanted to put either Link to the Past or Super Metroid, and I thought I put Super Metroid.
I just thought you would have put one of the Lufias as one of your favorites.
They were on that list as well. You were on that episode.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
They're among my favorites.
No,
what I'm saying is I didn't realize you put both Link to the Past and Super Metroid ahead of them.
I don't think I have beaten any games more, possibly ActRaiser, but these were my two comfort games where I would keep going back to them, which I don't know how I kept going back to Super Metroid because I didn't own it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I didn't own Super Metroid either. Link to the Past was definitely one of my comfort games. This was one of the few games that I could play like start to finish in one playthrough because I knew it so well. The other one was Mega Man X, and I didn't own Mega Man X either, actually.
Mhm.
But like, I got to the point where I could clip through Mega Man X in like, half an hour. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
good old comfort games.
All right. Well, we're running out of time. There's one more thing I wanted to talk about with Super Metroid. I want to talk about its commercial, because this is the commercial I remember, where they wanted to really hype up to the American audience that this is an intense game. They come up with this concept of the dog, the Doberman Pinscher going in with Super Metroid, and then it comes out a Chihuahua, which that the face of the Chihuahua gets me every time. The bulging eyes.
That was a very, very particular era of 90s culture.
Yes.
That commercial didn't do anything for me.
It does. It says it does such a bad job of actually like describing what, like, don't get me wrong, it's an intense game, but it's not it. Metroid Dread is still the game that just its title understands what the mood they're going for is. Whereas this is like, no, it's all action and intense and attitude era. And it's like, no.
All I know is this tells me, this game's going to suck all the muscles out of your body, You're going to come out with a lower testosterone count or something. But
It's because you're playing as a woman.
Wow.
Touche.
Contact Breakfast and send in your opinions. Call 555.
Show me where he's wrong.
Sorry, the layup was right there. I had to take the shot.
So, but I'm
glad that someone found something that good to do with that.
Super Metroid is so iconic. It's been referenced in a lot of other games. One of my favorites is I Want to Be the Guy, where they have a Kraid boss fight, kind of. It's they call it Craigief.
Zangief.
It's Zangief, but he's Kraid. But my favorite part is it takes a while, but when he starts shooting out the spikes, the spikes look a little different than you would anticipate because they're Blanca.
Oh gosh.
Because I Want to Be the Guy is insane.
Speaking of another very specific era of gaming.
Yes. I Want to Be the Guy is insane. And no Super Metroid discussion would be complete without referencing Terminal Mon. Yes.
It is incredibly iconic and recognizable to the point where I remember back when these games were like when this was the newest thing that Nintendo would put out. For some reason, I had to call Nintendo. I think it was like I had like something was wrong with my machine and I needed advice on how to fix it or something. I wasn't calling the 900 number for hints, but it was but I remember when they put me on hold, they were playing just the sound of it was just somebody playing the very beginning of this game. You hear the thunder and then like the blasting noise as it runs through, and I knew exactly what I was listening to. Just because it's that iconic. It's that recognizable.
Yeah. This game, this is going to lead me to the end of the show, because it's going to lead us into our next episode, which I want to have a discussion. The next episode that we do, we're going to discuss what is a 10 out of 10 game. Because I think we'll all have various different definitions, but this game is definitely 10 out of 10.
Are we
Yes.
talking objectively or subjectively?
Well,
Yes.
obviously it can't
you-
be objectively on a subjective scale. But no, we're discussing that next week. And so that's going to be the topic. And I assume we'll all have slightly different criteria and what we might list as 10 out of 10. So that's the topic for next week.
My criteria may be different from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Yeah, and that's why it's going to be a good
Yeah.
conversation.
Well, and like I feel like a lot of those, it depends on like.
Well,
what's going
let's
on
save
in
it
your
for
life
next
at the
week.
time. Yeah.
All right, let's get the wrap up going because we got to get to bed because we're adults and that means we have bedtimes now. Baggins, would you like to promote something?
I will promote something. I just spent way too much money on a game that I have wanted for
Yes.
decades at this point. I finally bit the bullet and used some of my yearly bonus to buy a copy of EVO: The Search for Eden, which is hard to find, but such a fun, just great concept of a game. So
Nice.
All right. Breakfast, would you like to promote anything?
Played Sea of Stars over the last
Yes,
2
you did.
weeks.
Yes, you did.
Good game. I enjoyed it.
All right. Lunasar.
Well, I mean, I feel like there's the obligatory, plug for Lizzie.
Mhm.
But I'll say she actually found a retro game for me that I had on my list. It wasn't terribly expensive, not like Evo, not as great as Evo, honestly, but it is Battle Olympus on the NES. She was able to get me a copy of that.
What is that? Never heard of it.
It is a game that was actually inspired by and plays similar to Zelda 2. But you play as, I mean, I think they don't say it outright, but I think you're supposedly playing as Orpheus, and you're trying to get to save what's her name? Eurydice from Hades. But it basically plays, kind of like.
Oh, I think I played the
there's not an
sequel.
Overworld.
Wow.
Sure. Wow. Okay. Yeah. But it plays like Zelda 2, or possibly kind of more of a Metroidvania style ish.
Yeah, Faxanadu, Zelda 2, that whole thing.
Okay,
Didn't
never
have
heard
a
of that.
battery backup save, unfortunately. You had to go to Zeus and get the word of God from Zeus to
Yes.
get a password.
It's kind of a clever mechanic, though. Calling it the word of God. It's like that. It's good.
Yeah.
All right. And then you can, of course, find me twitch.tv/SplyStream. We've been playing a ton of Hytale. Probably going to play more because I'm enjoying building my underwater base.
Yep. I just finished the roof on the main part of my end, so I'm excited about that. But in the meantime, guys, I think we overleveled.